Ugh, what did I even just watch? Alright, there's no getting around it. If you're looking for a spoiler-free review, now's a good time to kindly bow out while you still can, because this movie desperately needs to be ripped apart. To the same extent as, well, someone I'll mention later in this review. Anyways, let's get down to the bare bones of this absolute mess by starting with a summary of the film's overall plot and shitty writing decisions made till the end of the film. This movie begins with a chaotic nightmare, dream, or memory, alternate universe Doctor Strange lived experience scene right out of the gate, where a more experienced version of Doctor Strange and an unknown young girl are running around in the, as per the usual, unknown, floaty obstacle course of a dimension we're used to seeing from Strange at this point. No worries though, no time to think about it. This scene just takes us all along for the confusing ride as Strange and the girl complete their obstacle course and face a giant CGI monster because, of course they do. However, in a moment of doubt, Strange turns on the girl and attempts to steal her so-called powers to save them and the very multiverse itself through her sacrifice, but is interrupted due to the fact that the writers just morally want her to keep her powers, and this disposable version of Strange was apparently a selfish dick for implying otherwise, and naturally deserves to die now as a result. So of course, the creature essentially kills them off as they manage to escape, and real Doctor Strange wakes up from the so-called dream. Now that the zero-context, fast-paced scene used to hook your interest early on has ended, and the stakes have been established as higher than ever, because apparently saving one town, city, country, or the world, or even the universe we live in wasn't high enough, it's fine to actually start the movie with Doctor Strange being in attendance at his old girlfriend's wedding to someone else. However, this is Disney Marvel, so let's just not really let this scene play out for Strange due to a random giant Cyclops starfish hitman attacking someone just down the street conveniently at the exact same time. Yeah, I'm not kidding. That's how this starts. That's what they went with. Aren't coincidences like these just great, you guys? Anyways, as Strange takes action, he soon discovers that Starfish isn't a random monster at all, but rather conveniently, it appears to have been one sent to kill the real-life version of the girl from his dream he literally just woke up from the same morning. Right. Cause well, aren't coincidences like these just great, you guys? How does Strange figure this out, you ask? This young girl, apparently named America, simply tells him that that's the case and that Strange's dream of dying next to her actually happened in another universe, that her powers allow her to travel through the multiverse, and that she has proof. In the next scene, she even shows Strange his own corpse from the alternate universe in person, and he barely has any reaction to his dead self whatsoever, and even lightheartedly jokes about burying worse, as he casually buries the body inside the rooftop/ceiling of a random building, cause apparently literally anywhere else was taken. Afterwards, he quickly tells America that the starfish assassin must be witchcraft apparently, and that he'll handle this by asking someone else what to do, I guess. So, off to Wanda's home he goes hoping for aid concerning the alleged witchcraft, only for her to immediately profess to him that she's not only the one directly responsible for conjuring up the starfish to pursue the girl, but that she's completely embraced her newborn identity from WandaVision as the Scarlet Witch, something that was all prophesied in the Book of the Damned known as the Darkhold. Without hesitation, Wanda then threatens Strange to forfeit the child, or him and anyone else in her way will face the unforgiving wrath of the Scarlet Bitch. Witch. What does that mean exactly? It means that in the most ruthless of ways imaginable, she'll kill anyone in her path attempting to prevent her from stealing America's powers, so that she can use them to travel to another universe where her children from WandaVision actually do exist. Also, she can then swiftly kill off their real mother in the process and take her place as a mom. Damn, Strange. Immediately running into the primary antagonist of the movie for help protecting a girl you only just met? There isn't a worse person you could have reached out to in this scenario, is there? But hey, aren't coincidences like these just great, you guys? Anyways, Strange and America hold up at the Sanctum Sanctorum in hopes that it's enough to protect her from this completely evil version of Wanda, who nearly effortlessly destroys the place and evaporates separates members of the Sanctum in one of the earliest, darker scenes for this film. With the Sanctum destroyed all over again like in Strange's first film, it really goes to show just how overhyped this place may actually be. Regardless, having no other choice, Strange in America used her power to escape into the multiverse. And after that, I'll just sum things up here as eloquently as I can on this topic. The plot and the characters here jump headfirst into the strong, brave, virtuous, and arguably most fragile form of every character that exists in what can only be called the leftyverse of wokeness. And along the way, they stumble through many bullshit universes that are as visually appealing as they are chaotic. Eventually, they land in the universe where Strange has been labeled the enemy of every universe by his ex-girlfriend. I can't get over that. Who went from a surgical nurse to the smartest person in the room with full control, power, and oversight over an entire diverse organization called the Illuminati, with absolutely no explanation as to how she qualified for the role that commands so much authority. So, the Diversinati and all their precious cameo actors, in the most arrogant way possible, jointly threaten and belittle Steven like a child for even existing right from the start as they question what to do with him. Much like a certain Star Wars character you may be familiar with, the so-called heroes in this universe are exactly as Disney would have it, in that the women control every decision and demand respect without question with a level of snarkiness that actually makes Brie Larson's Captain Marvel look good. And that's no small feat, I assure you.
Is that like a personal attack or something?
Anyways, as Steven and the audience are forced to watch this room of checked boxes belittle and decide his fate, they arrogantly ignore every attempt of his to warn them of the impeding danger. But thank fuck, the insufferableness of all these characters is short-lived, as Wanda promptly shows up and kills off every hero cameo appearance that no one asked for, with little to no effort, in ways that combine elements of horror and actual gore for a Marvel film. Looking at you, Mr. Fantastic. Captain Carter's I Could Do This All Day.
What the shit?
Was honestly the funniest part of this movie, thanks to more than just her ego getting cut down to size in the same breath. And I'll leave it at that. More diverse Captain Marvel and Professor X pose no threat to her as she makes quick work of them because, let's just establish that Wanda is a god-tier threat at this point. Because she desperately wants to be a mother and traditional housewife, apparently. Yes. Despite the lessons learned in WandaVision, that's the new motive of this god-tier female character, apparently. To simply return to where women were a few decades ago, I guess. It's almost as though WandaVision itself simply served as the beginning to this film, but at the last second she says, to hell with it, and just keeps fucking up everything. No matter how much the show's writers literally had random characters defending her actions directly to the audience multiple times throughout the show for absolutely no reason. Here, her whole goal to replace the motherly role of a Wanda who somehow did successfully have biological children with her sentient vibranium dildo is simply too much for two of the strongest MCU heroes to ever exist to even handle. Even when aided by other diverse heroes, Professor X and Captain Marvel are no match for Wanda's deep desire to go from Scarlet Witch to reaching her truly most powerful form, the Scarlet MILF. It's with these characters' deaths and Doctor Strange fleeing from Wanda 90% of the movie that the only real possible threat to Wanda at this point is, come on, guess it, guess, herself. Yeah, herself. I think we all knew. I could go on about plot holes or America's birth parents conveniently being revealed to us as apparently two biological moms via the stupidest plot device I've ever heard of that was the local public access memory vending machine Strange in America coincidentally step on. Like, hold on. Forget the whole two biological moms bit they threw in there because apparently the future really is female where America is from. But for simplicity's sake, couldn't we just get a normal flashback of her describing this to Strange? Or are you telling me that if they stepped on literally any other random patch of sidewalk that doesn't non-consensually put your most private memory on display for a whole public street to see, that we'd never have received this information? Ugh. So that is what you're saying. Damn. So, they just happened to step exactly at that point in the story, huh? Okay. Aren't coincidences like these just great, you guys?
No. Oh, well, maybe, I don't know.
Coming back to the dumpster fire plot of this movie, Wanda proceeds to pursue Strange in America through the multiverse by using the Darkhold Book of the Damned to possess a Wanda in the universe Strange in America are hiding in. However, she's briefly inconvenienced when Wong and a student at the Sanctum Sanctorum succeed at destroying the book during a moment of opportunity. Keep in mind, this only happens because Wanda is busy controlling other Wanda, and because no-name student tells Wong that he's too important of a side character to kill off, so she must destroy the book and die as a result instead. Wanda then uses her powers to force up the remaining handful of surviving students from beneath the rubble and begins to torture them all in front of Sorcerer Supreme Wong while demanding another copy of her favorite book. Almost like a dissatisfied Karen in a bookstore would torture employees before turning her frustration to the manager down at your local Barnes & Noble. Despite Wanda's one way of reaching Strange in America now having been destroyed, after Wanda threatens to kill the few remaining students, Wong tells her of another mysterious forbidden place where the words of the Darkhold were originally transcribed from. This makes the sacrifice of the student who just died a moment ago destroying the original book almost pointless, considering how quickly this provides Wanda with a solution. Cause wouldn't you fucking know it, once they arrive to this ancient forbidden temple in the mountains we've never once seen before, the whole place where this book was written from literally turns out to be a shrine or throne room to Wanda that comes fully complete with a massive ancient statue of her likeness that pre-exists her by thousands of years, a fully operational sacrificial altar for her victims, and even comes complete with multiple huge, bulky, loyal, damned monster followers that apparently waited their entire existence to be of service to her just for the climax of this movie. Cause, aren't coincidences like these just great, you guys? Finally, after an unconvincing Wong death scene, the Scarlet Witch, via the possession of other Wanda, inevitably catches up with Strange in America, officially more powerful than ever thanks to her shrine and Darkhold inscribed temple. After forcing America to use her powers to strand Strange in another universe, she then uses America's powers to deliver her to her shrine so she can finally take her powers for herself. Strange, what does he do next? Well, he immediately decides to journey off with his ex-girlfriend in search of the other version of himself that destroyed his universe using the Darkhold. And then promptly exchanges words with him, beats him in a fight, kills him, and despite all the warnings and some horrible looking CGI third eye his other self possessed after using the Darkhold, he then proceeds to break all the rules he's learned up to this point and uses the Darkhold himself so that he can possess the body of dead Doctor Strange he sealed in the roof of some building somewhere. Afterwards, Wanda calls him a hypocrite, like it's actually supposed to prove that dumb point she tried to make about things not being fair at the beginning of the movie. But honestly, Wanda, who the fuck cares at this point? Your head's so far up your own ass that you're actually trying to compare him using the book to defeat you after you got us here, to you using the book to slaughter everyone in your own path as you try to play God over the multiverse itself? Right. Yeah, strong argument, Wanda. I'm really starting to come around. But yeah, there's some cool demon-like CGI horror elements here that look really cool, but at least this time when he faces Wanda, he doesn't actually risk dying this time apparently, since he's fighting her through a corpse instead. And I mean, that's good and all, but well, this is still the Scarlet fuck-all witch we're dealing with here, and despite a visually entertaining fight, America finally learning to use her powers without being betrayed by Strange, and Wanda finally showing some physical weakness, simply because a teenager with a certain gender is the one throwing the punches instead, I guess a minor proving to be more of a challenge than Captain Marvel, Professor X, or Doctor Strange himself for some reason makes sense here due to it being the end of the movie, and due to Marvel's unwritten, yet always written, two-step policy that is as follows. 1. Women never fall to men, only to themselves, other women, or the consequences of their own actions. And number 2. All female anti-heroes are simply innocent victims of men. Every fucking time. This is an ever-present, one-sided policy, clearly made of vibranium since, well, they'll never let us be rid of it for any female character ever scripted to fill the role of anything even remotely close to approaching an antagonist. Just look at anything with Jean Grey from X-Men, Hela from Thor, Agatha from WandaVision, Carly from Falcon and the Winter Soldier, and now Wanda herself being added to that list. And you'll know the ending to any future female antagonists down the line before the movie is even released. So naturally, her downfall here only comes from having the willingness to listen and see what she's become in the fearful eyes of her kids, thanks to America letting her children view Wanda for what she's become. Because apparently Professor X of all people simply wasn't competent enough to pull off getting her to slow down for 1 second via telepathy and listen to reason like he's known for in literally every other film. But oh, right. He's got that one weakness. Yeah, the red-haired one? Yeah, you know, the one where any red-haired woman cloaked in red powers with a case of the I'm so misunderstoods, refusing to listen to their older, wiser, and emotionally more sound male counterparts will always just be too much for him to handle, apparently. Now won't it?
Go fuck yourself.
Now, as for the ending, remember, this is basically the ending to WandaVision that Doctor Strange is simply a guest in. But finally, after a whole 9-episode series on Disney Plus and one 2-hour-long film too late, Wanda finally accepts her character has become irredeemable as a villain and as a hero, choosing to take her life by destroying every Darkhold in the multiverse itself and collapsing her shrine in on herself as a half-assed form of repenting for the evil she's done. Strange and Wong then take America in and begin her training for whatever Disney wants to put her in next, I guess. Doctor Strange then begins walking away as you think the credits are about to roll, but out of nowhere he screams in pain as that horrible CGI third eye curse from the Darkhold appears on his head. Oh shit, could this mean he's turning evil now too? Don't think about it for too long, cause oh wait, there's a post-credit scene where he's literally more than happy to be using it like it's a benefit more than a curse, alongside a newly introduced Charlize Theron casted character appearing to play the Sorcerer Supreme Clea alongside him for whatever they're about to do, because God knows he needs even more overshadowing in his own movies after this writer's abomination of a film. And that's it. That's the film. Outside of its many problems I just highlighted, one that seems to stick out the most is the fact that, well, no one here even wins in this movie. Hell, Wanda doesn't even lose. I mean, sure, she's officially off-screen dead now after all the shitty things she's done, but where exactly does she pay for any of it? And I mean outside of her personal anguish she puts herself through that every person deals with after handling a loss. Honestly, she lost 2 people, not 4, because her 2 kids never even existed. I mean, her parents died at a very young age if you reach far back enough, but damn, just for the sake of making her look slightly better? How much reaching do we have to do here to justify her actions as a character exactly? We're starting to sound just like those damn people from WandaVision.
My point is, I don't believe she has a political agenda or any inclination toward destruction.
Monica, she blasted you halfway across New Jersey.
And I survived because she chose to protect me.
She's holding thousands of people hostage.
And it could have been thousands more if she hadn't put up her own quarantine.
I need to do this.
Bullshit! I mean, sure. I guess the writers obviously want us to contrast her with the multiple dead, shitty Doctor Stranges who destroyed their own universes in this movie, or that one from the What If series, compared to just this one universe's version of her. But honestly, it does absolutely nothing for her or him, because no one actually supports or justifies either of their actions. She did shitty things, and all those Doctor Stranges did as well. Also, before the movie ends, Disney here just has to establish that she's so strong, she was literally in control of every second she was on film, regardless of the strength or number of her opponents, and now she's just gotta die an undefeatable character, forcibly inserted into the slot of strongest character in the MCU put to film, next to Infinity Ultron from What If. All based on her feats in this film alone. Outside of the horrible writing, at the very least the acting and performances by the cast were good. The visual elements to the film from Sam Raimi were great, with one obvious exception being whatever the hell they did to Strange's forehead at the end. Lastly, it's pretty clear this movie had no clue whether it wanted to be a horror, action, or comedy film, and honestly, due to its lack of commitment to any of these genres in particular, it failed to succeed at any of them. And ultimately, this makes the audience leave the theater wondering what on earth they even just watched. And I mean, as grateful as I am to see a darker side to the Marvel Universe outside of Deadpool finally make its way on screen, unlike the abomination that was Morbius and all its PG-13 glory, it still makes you question, did anybody even ask for this movie? And just who the hell was this movie for? Do the writers even know? And well, what message does this tell its viewers exactly about consistently making horrible decisions with no accountability?
Nothing matters! Nothing has any consequence!
Or ruthlessly killing and vilifying anyone that opposes you, or even cares enough about you to listen to your side, or just how much damage and destruction are people supposed to tolerate when you demand the world itself bends to your feelings, regardless of the heavy toll it takes on the rest of the world to make one damn person who hasn't realized they've gone too far yet feel better. Meanwhile, the whole movie has gone by, but everyone already jumped ship in supporting Wanda's actions a long time ago during her little web series. Everyone but the writers, I mean. Regardless, considering the character they butchered to make this movie possible, this film as a whole simply begs one question. Was it even worth it in the first place? And on that note, I hope you guys like this review, so feel free to comment down below and let me know what you'd like me to review next. Whether it's good, whether it's bad. Remember, I'll fucking judge.
Tiny, momentary speck within an indifferent universe.